Dear friend, welcome. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Let it fill your lungs, then leave gently, like a wave returning to the sea. You are here now, and that is enough. This book is not a manual of quick fixes or promises of endless happiness. It is an invitation to slow down, to listen, and to rediscover the medicine already within you. In these pages, you will find not complicated teachings, but timeless truths carried for centuries through Zen and Buddhist wisdom. Truths that whisper, your body is not broken, it is speaking. Your emotions are not enemies, they are messengers. Presence is not far away, it is here, in this very breath. Aging is not a decline, but a ripening. And healing is not something you chase, it is something you remember. Each chapter will guide you through principles that have soothed countless hearts before yours. Each section will invite you not only to understand, but to practice through breath, reflection, or gentle attention. Let these teachings be like lanterns along a path, not forcing you forward, but lighting the way home. Wherever you are in your journey, whether in pain, in transition, or simply seeking peace, know that you are not alone. Across centuries and cultures, countless others have walked this path. Now, it is your turn. Let us walk together. Have you ever noticed how a headache arrives not after a long day of work, but after a conversation where you never spoke your truth? Have you ever felt your stomach twist into knots right before a meeting you were dreading, or sensed your chest tighten as someone you love walked away from you? These are not accidents. These are not random malfunctions. They are whispers, messages written in the hidden language of your body. The body speaks, but not in words. It speaks in sensations, tension, heat, heaviness, trembling, nausea, or fatigue. Each signal is a kind of poetry, a metaphor encoded into muscle fibers, heartbeats, and breath. Yet most of us have been taught to treat these signals as interruptions, inconveniences, or even betrayals. We reach for quick fixes, pills to numb, distractions to silence, substances to drown out what we do not want to hear. But what if the body isn't trying to sabotage us? What if it is trying to protect us, guide us, even love us? In Zen teachings, the body is often seen not as a machine to be optimized, but as a wise companion. Its language is subtle, yet persistent. At first, it whispers, a twinge of discomfort, a flutter of anxiety, a sigh that lasts a little too long. If ignored, the whispers grow louder: chronic pain, restless sleep, fatigue that no amount of coffee can fix. Finally, the body shouts through illness, collapse, or breakdown, not as punishment, but as insistence. Please, listen. Consider this. The digestive system does not only process food, it also processes life. When you are unable to stomach a situation, your gut often tells the truth before your mind admits it. The heart does not only pump blood, it expands and contracts with love and grief alike. Shoulders carry more than bags or weight at the gym. They hold invisible responsibilities, the burdens we took on to please others or to survive. The throat tightens when words are swallowed, when we silence our authentic voice. Every symptom is a syllable in this bodily language. A woman once described carrying a pressure in her chest for nearly 4 years. It wasn't exactly pain, but a heaviness, like a stone resting on her heart. Doctors found nothing wrong. Tests were normal. She adjusted her diet, took supplements, practiced yoga, but the weight remained. One evening, sitting quietly without trying to fix herself, a memory surfaced. The loss of her father, grief she had never allowed herself to fully feel. As tears came, the pressure softened. The next morning, she woke up lighter, not cured, but heard. Her body had not needed medicine, it had needed acknowledgement. This is the essence of the first principle. Symptoms are not enemies to be fought, they are messages to be heard. When we ask not, "How do I make this go away?" but, "What are you trying to tell me?" we step into an entirely new relationship with ourselves. Suddenly, pain becomes less of a wall and more of a doorway. The Buddha taught, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. What he pointed to is this: the body will experience discomfort, this is part of being alive. But suffering arises when the mind resists, fears, or labels that discomfort. A headache is one thing, the story we spin around it. What if it never stops? What if something is wrong with me? Is another. When we drop the story and meet the raw sensation with presence, something profound shifts. This shift does not mean romanticizing pain or avoiding medical care. Bodies are complex, and sometimes professional help is absolutely necessary. But alongside that care, there is a deeper invitation to listen to the inner teacher that speaks in whispers, to recognize that your body has been narrating the hidden chapters of your life all along. Think back to the last time your back ached. Was it only from lifting something heavy, or were you carrying more than your share responsibilities, guilt, or unspoken obligations? Think of the time your jaw clenched during an argument you never voiced aloud. The tension was not random, it was your truth, trapped in muscle. Symptoms often reveal the stories we are unwilling to tell ourselves. In Buddhist monasteries, practitioners are taught to approach these sensations with mindful curiosity. Instead of labeling a stomachache as bad, they breathe with it, asking, "What are you showing me? What are you asking me to release?" Sometimes the answer is simple: rest, water, nourishment. Other times, it is deeper: grief, anger, longing. The body does not lie. It remembers every wound, every joy, every silence. There was once a teacher who realized her throat tightened every time she walked into staff meetings. At first, she blamed stress or fatigue. Later, with mindfulness, she saw the pattern. The tension only came when she felt unheard, when her contributions were dismissed. Her throat had been protecting her, bracing for silence. Once she recognized this, she began to speak earlier in meetings, to claim her place in the room. Slowly, the tightness eased, not because the workplace was perfect, but because she had begun to honor her body's wisdom. This practice of listening requires courage, to sit with discomfort without rushing to fix it, to allow feelings to rise without drowning them in busyness, to trust that the body is not your enemy, but your oldest ally. Like a loyal dog scratching at the door, it will keep calling until you let it in. So, how do we begin to decode this language? Start with pause. Sit for a few minutes and ask, where is my body speaking today? Perhaps your shoulders ache, your chest feels heavy, or your stomach is unsettled. Instead of pushing the sensation away, breathe into it. Place your hand gently on the area and whisper, "I hear you, I'm here." You might be surprised at what rises: memories, emotions, even words. Over time, this practice transforms your relationship with yourself. The body becomes less of a battlefield and more of a temple. Symptoms shift from obstacles to guides. Instead of being trapped in fear, what if something is wrong with me? You learn to ask with compassion, what truth am I ready to hear? And in that listening, healing begins. Your body is not broken, it is bilingual, speaking both in biology and in metaphor. Each ache, each flutter, each heaviness is a letter in the alphabet of your aliveness. To learn this language is not to cure everything instantly, but to walk more wisely with what is. Healing, then, is not about silencing the body, but finally answering its call. So tonight, before sleep, place your hand on your heart, breathe deeply, whisper quietly, I'm here now, I hear you. Notice what shifts. Perhaps nothing at first, perhaps everything. Either way, the conversation has begun, the one your body has been waiting for all along. The body as a loyal friend. Imagine a friend who has never left your side, even when you ignored them, criticized them, or demanded more than they could give. Imagine a companion so loyal that they stayed awake when you were exhausted, healed you when you barely noticed, and carried you through every high and low of your life without asking for anything in return. That friend is your body. The body is not an enemy to be conquered or a machine to be perfected. It is a faithful ally, quietly devoted to keeping you alive. Every heartbeat is a gesture of loyalty, every breath a reminder that you are still here. Even when you have been unkind to yourself, when you skipped rest, drowned stress in food or alcohol, or whispered harsh words at your reflection, your body has continued to serve you without hesitation. This is not weakness, it is unconditional love. Think of your heart. It has been beating since before you were born, long before you learned words like failure or success. It beats when you are joyful, and it beats when you are grieving. It has carried you through every heartbreak, through every triumph. Or consider your lungs. Without your conscious effort, they have drawn in oxygen thousands of times a day, even as you worried, even as you slept, even as you doubted yourself. Every cell in your body regenerates, repairs, and adapts in ways you may never fully comprehend. This is the miracle of loyalty. The body never gives up on you. Yet many of us treat this loyal friend with neglect. We criticize its shape, push it beyond exhaustion, or compare it to impossible ideals. We demand perfection while offering little gratitude. Imagine if you treated an actual friend this way, how long would they stay? And yet the body endures, waiting patiently for us to remember that we are on the same team. There was once a woman who wrote a letter to her body after decades of self-criticism. She began with apology. I'm sorry for not listening. I'm sorry for starving you to meet impossible standards. I'm sorry for numbing your signals with distraction. And then she wrote words of gratitude. Thank you for carrying me through every single day. Thank you for healing cuts and bruises without my asking. Thank you for continuing to breathe when I forgot to care for you. Something shifted in her as she wrote. For the first time, she saw her body not as a problem to fix, but as a partner who had always been on her side. This is the heart of Buddhist practice, to meet ourselves with compassion. Zen teachers remind us that the body is not separate from Buddha nature, it is an expression of it. To honor the body is to honor life itself. This does not mean indulgence or ignoring medical care. It means cultivating a relationship of respect, listening to its signals, offering it rest, nourishment, and movement with kindness rather than punishment. Try this simple practice. Place your hand on your heart and whisper, "Thank you." Feel the warmth of your own touch. Notice how the heart continues to beat beneath your palm, steady and forgiving. Or sit quietly and thank your feet for carrying you through every place you've ever walked. Thank your hands for everything they've touched and created. Gratitude transforms the ordinary into sacred. It softens the harsh inner voice and reminds you that you are already whole. In Zen monasteries, monks often bow before meals not to a deity, but to express reverence for the body and for the food that sustains it. This bow is not superstition, it is acknowledgement. It is saying, "I see you, I honor you, thank you." Imagine what would change in your daily life if you approached your body with this same spirit of bowing, not in worship but in gratitude. The body as a loyal friend is a radical idea in a culture obsessed with control and perfection. But when you embrace this view, everything changes. Instead of forcing your body into silence, you begin to listen. Instead of demanding endless productivity, you allow rest. Instead of criticizing its appearance, you marvel at its resilience. You begin to realize that healing is not about fighting your body, but about reconciling with your truest companion. So tonight, before you close your eyes, try whispering to your body, "I know I haven't always treated you well, but I see you now. Thank you for staying with me." Feel how your body responds, perhaps with a sigh, a softening, or simply the quiet continuation of breath. This friend has never left you. And when you finally choose to meet it with kindness, you may discover a healing deeper than you ever imagined, the healing of coming home to yourself. Pain as messenger, not enemy. What if your pain is not here to punish you, but to guide you? What if every ache, every throb, every sharp sensation were not a sign of betrayal, but a signal, a messenger knocking at the door of your awareness? Most of us were taught to fear pain, to push it away, to numb it as quickly as possible. Yet in the Buddhist tradition, pain is not seen as an enemy. It is seen as a teacher, a doorway to deeper understanding. The Buddha once said, "Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional." This simple phrase holds profound truth. Pain is part of being human, the stubbed toe, the aching back, the heartbreak. But suffering arises when we layer fear, resistance, and story onto that pain. A headache is one thing, the spiral of thoughts. What if it never goes away? What if something is seriously wrong? Is another. The sensation itself is real, but the suffering comes from our resistance to feeling it. Consider the story of a man who endured chronic headaches for years. He tried everything: medication, therapies, diets. Nothing gave lasting relief. At a mindfulness retreat, he decided to stop fighting the pain. He sat quietly, closed his eyes, and breathed into the tension. He noticed something unexpected. The headaches always appeared after conversations where he silenced himself, where he swallowed truths he longed to speak. His head was heavy, not just with pressure, but with unspoken words. When he began to honor this connection, the headaches softened. They became reminders rather than punishments, invitations to speak his truth. Pain as messenger does not mean we should glorify suffering or refuse medical care. Sometimes the body needs urgent attention, and professional help is essential. But alongside that, we can choose a new relationship: curiosity instead of fear, presence instead of resistance. When pain arises, we can ask, What are you trying to tell me? What truth am I avoiding? Often, the body reveals layers we never expected: grief hidden in the chest, resentment stored in the shoulders, exhaustion carried in the bones. There was once a teacher who guided her students through this process. She invited them to notice the difference between the raw sensation of pain and the mental story about it. One student described her back pain as an unbearable weight. The teacher asked her to close her eyes and simply describe what she felt without labels. The student said, "Heat, tightness, pulsing." When she stayed with these sensations instead of the story, the intensity shifted. It was still there, but less overwhelming, like a storm viewed from shelter rather than being caught in the rain. The pain became bearable once it was seen clearly. Zen practice encourages us to lean in gently to discomfort rather than flee from it, not to wallow in it, but to allow it space. Imagine pain as a child tugging on your sleeve. If you ignore the child, they scream louder. If you pause, kneel, and listen, they calm down. Pain works in much the same way. It intensifies when silenced, softens when acknowledged. Of course, pain is not only physical. Emotional pain, loss, betrayal, loneliness echoes through the body. The heart aches, the stomach knots, the throat tightens. These too are messengers, urging us to honor our humanity. To feel grief is to acknowledge love. To feel fear is to recognize what matters. To feel anger is to protect boundaries. In Buddhist understanding, emotions are not problems to be solved. They are teachers guiding us back to truth. Try this practice the next time pain arises. Instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this?" ask, "How can I be with this?" Place a hand on the area, breathe into it, and whisper inwardly, "I'm listening." You may not hear an immediate answer, but over time, you will learn the subtle dialect of your body. The ache in your head might be asking for rest. The tightness in your chest might be inviting tears. The heaviness in your shoulders might be asking you to set down responsibilities that are not yours to carry. There is wisdom hidden inside discomfort. When we rush to silence it, we miss the lesson. But when we sit with it, breathe with it, honor it as messenger, something transforms. Pain no longer feels like an enemy dragging us down. It becomes a teacher, patient and insistent, guiding us toward wholeness. Tonight, if you feel an ache or tightness anywhere in your body, pause before reaching for distraction. Place your hand gently on that place and ask, "What are you trying to show me?" Do not demand an answer. Simply listen. Perhaps the answer will rise tonight, perhaps in a week, perhaps in a year. What matters is that you are finally listening. And when you do, pain will stop shouting and begin to speak softly, like an old friend, reminding you that healing is not about fighting yourself, but about returning home to your own truth. The bridge between worlds. Breath is the one act that never leaves you. It was there at your first cry when you entered this world, and it will be there with your last sigh when you leave it. Have you ever noticed how breath is both automatic and intentional? You breathe without thinking, yet at any moment you can pause, deepen, slow, or savor it. This is why breath is often called the bridge between worlds, the world of the unconscious body and the world of conscious awareness, the world of the physical and the world of the spiritual. In Buddhist practice, the breath is not simply a biological process. It is the anchor of presence. The Buddha himself, sitting under the Bodhi tree, began his path to awakening by observing the breath. Breathing in, he knew he was breathing in. Breathing out, he knew he was breathing out. In that simple noticing, a whole world of peace revealed itself. Presence was no longer an abstract idea, it was alive. In each inhale, each exhale. Consider this: when you are anxious, your breath becomes shallow and quick. When you are calm, your breath naturally lengthens and deepens. The state of your mind and the rhythm of your breath are inseparable. But here lies the secret. By shifting the breath, you can also shift the mind. Slow, intentional breathing tells your nervous system it is safe to rest. Each inhale is a message of receiving life. Each exhale, a gentle letting go. Many people live their days without ever noticing the breath. They rush, they strive, they worry, all while the breath faithfully flows in and out, sustaining life without thanks or recognition. To notice the breath is to pause and acknowledge this miracle. Air entering your body, nourishing every cell, then leaving to make room for the next gift. It is a cycle of generosity repeated thousands of times a day. There was a young man who struggled with constant anxiety. His heart raced, his thoughts spun in endless circles, and his body felt like it was always bracing for danger. A teacher invited him to try one practice. Every time he felt overwhelmed, to pause and take 3 slow breaths. At first he resisted. How could 3 breaths solve years of panic? But he tried. In the middle of a crowded subway, at his desk before a presentation, late at night when worry kept him awake, he paused, breathed in deeply, and exhaled slowly. To his surprise, the anxiety didn't vanish, but it loosened. He described it as though the breath had opened a small window in a suffocating room, letting in just enough air to remind him that peace was possible. Breath also connects us to others. The air you exhale now will be inhaled by someone across the room, across the city, even across the world in time. Each breath is shared, a silent reminder of interbeing, that we are not separate, but part of one great exchange of life. In Zen, this truth dissolves the illusion of isolation. To breathe consciously is to join the symphony of all beings, inhaling and exhaling together. Try this practice. Close your eyes and take a slow breath in. As you inhale, silently say, "Now is safe." As you exhale, whisper to yourself, "Now is enough." Repeat 3 times. Notice what shifts. Maybe your shoulders soften, maybe your mind quiets slightly, maybe nothing happens at first. That too is okay. The breath is patient. It will meet you again in the next inhale, the next exhale. It asks only that you return. Breath can also be prayer. Each inhale is a receiving of air, of life, of possibility. Each exhale is a release of tension, of fear, of control. In this rhythm, you practice the deepest truths of Buddhism: impermanence and letting go. No breath can be held forever. Try to grasp it, and it becomes suffering. Let it flow, and it becomes peace. There is a reason why nearly every contemplative tradition, from Zen to yoga to Christian monasticism, centers on the breath. It is the simplest, most universal gateway to presence. You don't need special training or equipment. You don't need to be in a quiet room. You carry your breath wherever you go. It is your built-in meditation teacher, always ready, always faithful. When life feels overwhelming, when pain or fear rise, when the future feels uncertain, pause. Place one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. Breathe deeply. Whisper to yourself, "This breath is enough." In that moment, you cross the bridge between the scattered mind and the anchored body, between fear and presence, between chaos and calm. So tonight, before you sleep, notice your breath. Feel the coolness of the inhale, the warmth of the exhale. Let each breath remind you, you are alive, you are supported, you are home. The bridge is always open. All you need to do is step onto it, one breath at a time. The practice of gentle attention. When was the last time you greeted your body the way you would greet a dear friend? Most of us barrel through our days, glancing at our bodies only when something hurts, criticizes us in the mirror, or fails to perform at the speed we demand. But imagine what might shift if you paused not to judge, not to fix, but to simply say, "Hello, I see you. Thank you for carrying me." This is the practice of gentle attention. Gentle attention is not about control. It is not about forcing the body into stillness or silencing its discomforts. It is about learning to notice with softness, to attend without agenda. In Zen Buddhism, attention is a form of love. To pay attention is to offer presence, and presence is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. Consider a simple body scan. You sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine moving your awareness like a soft light from the top of your head down to the soles of your feet. You pause at the forehead. Is there tension? You breathe. You notice your jaw. Is it clenched? You soften. You move through the shoulders, chest, belly, hips, legs, and toes. You are not diagnosing. You are not fixing. You are greeting. Each sensation, tightness, warmth, emptiness, is welcomed like a guest. You don't demand that they leave. You simply acknowledge, "I see you. I hear you." There was a man who carried years of unspoken stress in his shoulders. He described it as wearing a heavy backpack that no massage could remove. When he practiced gentle attention, he realized his shoulders were not betraying him. They were protecting him. They had been bracing for responsibilities, holding weight he never asked anyone else to share. As he whispered silently to them, "Thank you for your strength. You can rest now," he felt a release he had never known. Not because the burden of life had vanished, but because he finally shared it with himself, consciously and compassionately. Gentle attention transforms how we experience pain. Instead of seeing it as a problem to be solved, we see it as a child to be comforted. A headache becomes an invitation. "Rest me. Listen to me." An anxious stomach becomes a whisper. "Something here feels unsafe. Can you reassure me?" Attention does not always cure the symptom, but it heals the relationship. And often, when the body feels heard, the intensity of its cry softens. This practice also deepens joy. Imagine eating a piece of fruit with full attention, savoring its texture, sweetness, and fragrance. Suddenly, it is not just food. It is sunlight, rain, soil, and care condensed into nourishment. Imagine listening to music without multitasking, letting the sound wash through your chest, or walking slowly, feeling each footstep meet the earth. Gentle attention makes the ordinary sacred, reminding us that life is not something to rush through, but something to receive. A Zen saying goes, "When walking, walk. When eating, eat." It sounds almost too simple, yet this is the essence of gentle attention, being fully with what is. We often scatter ourselves into past regrets or future worries. Gentle attention gathers us back into now. And in the now, healing becomes possible because we finally meet ourselves where we truly are. Try this tonight. Before bed, place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Close your eyes. Ask quietly, "Dear body, what do you need me to know?" Then listen, not with the mind racing for answers, but with the soft patience of presence. Perhaps you will hear nothing at first. That is fine. Silence is also a message, an invitation to rest. Or perhaps you will sense an ache, a longing, a memory surfacing. Whatever arises, greet it gently. "Hello, I hear you." Gentle attention is not a technique to master, it is a way of relating. Each time you pause to notice, each time you soften your gaze inward, you strengthen trust between you and your body. This trust is the soil where healing grows, not always dramatic, not always immediate, but steady and real. Healing, after all, is not about perfection. It is about friendship with our breath, our body, our present moment. As Chapter 1 closes, remember this: your body has been whispering to you all along, in its aches, in its sighs, in its bursts of energy and moments of fatigue. It has been speaking. By practicing gentle attention, you begin to understand its language. And when you listen, truly listen, you realize that you were never broken, you were simply waiting to be heard. So tonight, before sleep, bow inwardly to your body as you would to a beloved companion. Whisper, "Thank you, I see you, I'm here." Let that be enough. Let that be the beginning of a new conversation, the conversation of healing, which begins and ends with gentle attention. What you don't feel, you can't heal. The tears we never cry do not vanish, they sink into the body, becoming weight in the chest, knots in the stomach, or tension in the jaw. The anger we swallow does not dissolve. It hardens in our muscles, stiffening our shoulders, burning quietly in our liver. The fear we bury does not disappear. It curls up inside, whispering you are not safe every time life feels uncertain. What we refuse to feel, the body carries for us. And until we listen, it will keep carrying it, sometimes for years, sometimes for decades. This is the truth of the first principle of emotional healing. What you don't feel, you can't heal. In Buddhist teaching, suffering is not caused by the presence of difficult emotions, but by our resistance to them. Emotions are like clouds. They form, drift across the sky, and dissolve. But when we block them, when we try to hold them back or push them away, they linger, they gather weight, darken, and eventually storm. Suppression becomes stagnation. Consider the woman who had never wept at her mother's funeral. She had been too busy being the strong one, holding everyone else together. Years later, at a silent meditation retreat, she finally broke down, not in dramatic wails, but in quiet sobs that shook her entire body. She wept for hours, and in those tears was not only grief, but release. Afterward, she said softly, "I didn't know how heavy it was until I let it go." Her body had been holding decades of unshed tears, and with each tear released, she felt more alive. Unfelt emotions become the clutter of the body. Imagine your body as a house, and every unexpressed feeling as a box shoved into the attic. At first, it seems manageable, you hardly notice. But as years pass, the attic fills. The floorboards begin to creak. The weight presses downward. Eventually, the house itself groans under the burden. This is what happens inside us when we postpone feeling. Sooner or later the body whispers, then speaks, then shouts, "Please, unpack this. I can't carry it alone anymore." Zen practice invites us to sit with our emotions rather than silence them. When sadness arises, instead of drowning it in distractions, we breathe with it. "Hello, grief, I see you." When anger burns, instead of suppressing it, we bow. "I hear you, anger. What boundary have you come to protect?" When fear trembles, we whisper, "I feel you. Thank you for trying to keep me safe." This is not indulgence, it is witnessing. And in witnessing, emotions soften. They transform from tormentors into guides. There was once a man with chronic fatigue that no doctor could fully explain. He rested, yet never felt rested. He ate well, yet had no energy. One day, during a meditation session, something shifted. He began to cry, not from sadness alone, but from a release so deep it felt cellular. Years of unexpressed sorrow poured out. For 30 minutes he wept quietly, and when the tears stopped, he whispered, "I feel like I've come back into my body for the first time in years." His fatigue did not vanish overnight, but it no longer owned him. His body had finally been given permission to release. In Buddhist wisdom, emotions are not solid things. They are energies, moving through the field of awareness. Anger, when allowed, transforms into clarity and boundary-setting power. Sadness, when felt, transforms into compassion. Fear, when acknowledged, reveals what we most value. But when denied, each of these becomes poison. The same energy that could liberate us becomes the weight that suffocates us. Try this practice. When you feel something uncomfortable rising, an ache in the throat, a heaviness in the chest, a flutter of anxiety in the stomach, pause. Place your hand on that part of your body. Ask softly, "What are you holding for me? What do you want me to feel?" Then breathe. Do not rush to answer. Do not force anything. Simply create space. Often, the body will respond with memory, image, or sensation. Other times, it may simply sigh in relief at finally being acknowledged. Healing does not mean avoiding pain. It means feeling it with such spacious presence that it no longer controls us. To feel is to free, and the body, wise and patient, is always ready for us to begin. Tonight, if you sense tension or heaviness anywhere within you, resist the urge to distract yourself. Sit quietly. Place both hands over your heart. Whisper, "I'm here. I'm listening. I'm ready to feel." You may discover that the very thing you feared feeling is the key that unlocks your healing. Because what you don't feel, you can't heal, and what you dare to feel with compassion, you finally release. The geography of emotion. The heart carries love and grief. The throat holds unspoken words. The stomach digests more than food, it digests experience. The shoulders bear invisible responsibilities, and the back bends under burdens too heavy to name. Emotions live in the body, and each part of us has its geography, its own landscape of memory and meaning. When we learn to read this map, we discover that the body has always been telling us where our wounds lie and where healing longs to begin. Think of the last time you felt anxious. Where did you notice it? Perhaps in the fluttering chest, the shallow breath, the quiver in the hands. Anxiety doesn't just exist in the mind, it has a physical address. Or recall the ache in your chest after heartbreak. Science may call it stress hormones, but you know it is more than that. It is grief etched into muscle and breath, love still vibrating in the ribcage. In Zen practice, we learn to honor this geography instead of ignoring it. The liver is said to carry anger, the lungs grief, the kidneys fear. These ancient teachings may not be literal medicine, but they hold symbolic wisdom. The body stores what the mind refuses to process. When you silence anger, the body burns with tension. When you swallow words, the throat constricts. When you can't stomach a truth, digestion falters. These are not accidents. They are coordinates on your emotional map. There was a teacher who noticed her throat tightened every time she entered meetings. For months she dismissed it as stress. But with mindfulness, she realized the tightness only came when she felt unheard. Her throat was bracing for silence. When she began speaking earlier, claiming her space, the tension slowly eased. Her body had been signaling the truth all along. Another story. A man carried chronic shoulder pain for years. No treatment lasted. In meditation, he asked his body what it was holding. Images of his father appeared. His father had died when he was young, and he had stepped into the role of provider too soon. His shoulders had carried that burden for decades. When he began sharing responsibility and allowing support, the pain softened. His shoulders were not betraying him, they were remembering. This geography is deeply personal. While ancient wisdom offers maps, your own body holds your unique topography of memory. To explore it, you must become both traveler and cartographer. Sit quietly. Breathe. Ask, where do I feel this emotion in my body? Place your hand there. Be curious. If sadness lives in your chest, breathe with it. If fear flutters in your belly, thank it for trying to protect you. If anger pulses in your jaw, whisper, I hear you. The body reveals not only the presence of emotion, but its message. Gentle exploration of this geography transforms our relationship with pain. We stop treating symptoms as random. We begin to see them as signposts. A migraine may say, what thought have you repeated without release? Insomnia may whisper, what are you unwilling to let go of? Digestive troubles may ask, what truth have you not yet digested? Each discomfort, when mapped, leads to deeper understanding. Try this practice. The next time you feel a strong emotion, pause, close your eyes, ask, where in my body are you? When you find the place, whether throat, chest, belly, or shoulders, place your hand there. Breathe into it 3 times. Name the emotion softly. Hello, grief. Hello, fear. Hello, anger. Do not judge. Do not fix. Simply acknowledge. Over time, this builds trust between you and your body. The map becomes clearer. The signals become less frightening and more like guides. Your body is not a random collection of aches and tensions. It is a living library, an atlas of your emotional life. Each muscle remembers, each cell holds memory. When you explore this geography with compassion, you discover that your pain is not chaos, it is cartography. It is a map leading you back to yourself. So tonight, as you lie in bed, scan gently through your body. Where does it feel heavy? Where does it feel light? Where does it call for attention? Whisper to those places, I see you. I hear you. Thank you for showing me the way. In time, you will learn that every ache and every breath is a landmark on the sacred geography of your own healing. Suppression as stagnation, expression as liberation. Still water that never moves begins to rot. Emotions that are never expressed follow the same law of nature. Suppression creates stagnation, and stagnation breeds illness of the body, the mind, and the spirit. Expression, on the other hand, is movement. It is the river flowing again, the wind clearing the air, the fire giving warmth instead of smoldering underground. To heal, we must allow our emotions to move. We must allow them to be felt, acknowledged, and released. Most of us were raised in cultures that fear emotions. We were told, don't cry, be strong, don't be angry, it's rude, don't be afraid, be brave. These well-meaning teachings taught us not resilience, but repression. We learned to push emotions down, to tighten our jaws, to swallow our truths. But feelings do not disappear because we deny them. They go underground, into the muscles, into the nervous system, into the organs. They wait, and in waiting, they become heavier, denser, more difficult to carry. Zen teachers remind us, emotions are like weather. Clouds form, rain falls, wind blows, sun returns. Nothing lasts forever. But when we refuse to let emotions move through, we dam the river. The water backs up, flooding areas that were never meant to hold it. Suppression becomes tension, tension becomes chronic pain becomes suffering, and the original emotion, which wanted only to be acknowledged, becomes distorted into something more damaging. There was once a woman who carried years of unspoken resentment in her gut. She suffered from digestive issues no doctor could explain. Eventually, through mindfulness practice, she realized it was not food that she could not digest, but her life. She had swallowed her truth in a toxic relationship, convincing herself to keep the peace. Her stomach bore the cost. When she finally began to speak quietly at first, then more clearly, her digestion improved. Not instantly, not magically, but steadily. Expression gave her body permission to release. Expression is not about dramatics or explosions. It is about movement. Sometimes that movement looks like tears streaming silently. Sometimes it looks like words spoken honestly. Sometimes it is as simple as writing in a journal, painting on a canvas, or exhaling deeply after holding the breath too long. The form matters less than the honesty. Expression is truth made visible. In Buddhism, the middle way teaches us not to cling and not to suppress, to feel an emotion without drowning in it, to let it pass without forcing it away. That is liberation. When anger arises, acknowledge it. I see you. I hear your warning about my boundaries. When sadness appears, whisper, you are here because I have loved deeply. When fear trembles, bow, thank you for trying to keep me safe. By naming and honoring emotions, we allow them to complete their natural cycle. There was a man who had carried chronic irritability for years. Everything seemed to annoy him. Through meditation, he discovered that beneath the irritation was grief he had never allowed himself to feel. Once he permitted the sadness to flow through tears, through silence, through compassionate witnessing, the irritability eased. Suppression had been keeping him stuck. Expression set him free. Try this practice. Tonight, find a quiet space. Take a notebook and write a letter to yourself, beginning with, Dear heart, what have you been holding? Allow whatever arises to pour onto the page. Don't censor, don't judge. When you finish, read it back softly. Then, if you feel moved, tear the page, burn it, or fold it into a drawer. The act of giving voice is enough. The release is not in the permanence of words, but in their expression. Remember, suppression is like stagnant water. It poisons over time. Expression is like a flowing river. It refreshes, nourishes, and clears. Your emotions are not enemies to silence. They are movements of life asking to be felt. When you let them move, you set yourself free. So tonight, as you breathe, ask softly, what have I been holding back? What needs to move through me? Then allow space for whatever arises. A sigh, a tear, a laugh, a memory. Whatever comes, let it move. Because healing is not about holding tighter, it is about letting flow. Suppression binds you, expression liberates you. Writing a letter to the body. What would you say if your body was sitting across from you right now, listening? Would you apologize? Would you thank it? Would you confess that you have ignored its whispers for far too long? Writing a letter to your body is not a poetic exercise. It is a sacred conversation. It is a way of translating unspoken truths into words, of giving the body the voice it has always deserved. Most of us speak about our bodies, but rarely to them. We complain about our weight, criticize our appearance, or demand more energy. We consult doctors, read articles, follow regimens, but seldom do we pause to ask, "Dear body, how are you? What have you been holding for me?" This simple act of addressing the body directly changes everything. It turns the body from an object into a friend, from a machine into a partner. Consider beginning like this. "Dear body, I am sorry. I am sorry for the nights I deprived you of rest, the days I pushed you past exhaustion, the years I criticized you for not looking like someone else. I am sorry for ignoring your signals when you tried to warn me, for numbing you when you needed care, for demanding perfection when you were only asking for compassion." Just writing these words can unlock tears, memories, and softening. The apology is not about guilt, it is about acknowledgement, and acknowledgement is healing. Once apology has opened the door, gratitude can follow. Thank you, dear body, for carrying me every single day. Thank you for healing cuts and bruises without my asking. Thank you for lungs that breathe, for a heart that beats, for legs that walk me through this world. Thank you for continuing to function even when I forgot to love you. Thank you for being loyal, patient, and faithful. Gratitude reframes the body from enemy to ally. It reminds us that even in illness, imperfection, or fatigue, the body is still performing countless miracles every moment. The practice can go deeper. After writing your letter, set the pen down on a fresh page. Let your body write back. Place the pen in your hand and imagine your body answering. Do not think too much, simply allow words to flow. You might be surprised at what emerges. "I am not angry with you. I have only been trying to get your attention. I know what you need if you will only listen. Rest more, drink water, move gently. Say no to what drains you. Stop carrying burdens that are not yours. Remember, you are worthy of care." The body's voice often comes through with tenderness, not judgment. It longs for partnership, not punishment. There was a woman who tried this practice after years of battling autoimmune illness. In her letter, she apologized for resenting her body, for calling it broken. In the reply that poured out, she felt her body say, "I am not broken. I am protecting you. I need you to slow down, to trust me, to love me as I am." Reading those words, written in her own hand, yet carrying a wisdom beyond her conscious mind, she wept. For the first time, she felt her illness not as betrayal, but as communication. The practice did not cure her overnight, but it transformed her relationship with herself. This exercise is not mystical fantasy, it is mindfulness in action. By writing, you slow down enough to listen. By personifying the body, you bypass the critical mind and access deeper truths. Words become a bridge between consciousness and embodiment. Try this tonight. Sit in a quiet space with a journal. Begin your letter with, "Dear body." Let your pen move without censorship. Write apologies, gratitude, questions. When you are ready, let your body reply. Trust the words that arise, even if they surprise you. When you finish, place your hand on your heart and whisper aloud one sentence from the body's reply that resonates most. Let it echo in your awareness. Writing a letter to the body is an act of reconciliation. It is saying, "I see you, I hear you, I am ready to listen." And often, this is all the body has been waiting for. Because beneath the aches, the fatigue, the tension, your body does not want perfection, it wants relationship. So tonight, let the page be your bridge. Let the ink carry the conversation that has been waiting in silence for years. And as you write, remember, your body is not your enemy. It is your oldest friend, longing for the simple words, "Thank you, I'm sorry, I love you." The guest house of the heart. Every emotion is a visitor. Some arrive like welcome guests bringing laughter and light. Others knock at the door with heavy suitcases of sorrow, anger, or fear. Yet all are visitors passing through. This is the teaching of the guest house of the heart, a reminder that our inner life is not a battlefield but a home, one with many rooms where all feelings can be received with respect. The 13th century poet Rumi, deeply influenced by spiritual traditions, wrote, "This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, joy, depression, meanness. He said all are to be greeted at the door, even if they sweep your house bare. Each," he insisted, "has been sent as a guide from beyond." In Buddhism, this same wisdom is echoed. Emotions are not permanent. They arise, they peak, they pass. When we treat them as guests, we stop clinging to the pleasant and stop fearing the difficult. We learn hospitality of the heart. Think of grief. It arrives uninvited, often after loss. We resist it, wishing it would leave. But when grief is welcomed, when we let it sit at our table, drink tea with us, it reveals its gift. How deeply we have loved. Or consider anger. When treated as an intruder, it grows louder, more destructive. But when welcomed as a guest, we hear its message. A boundary has been crossed. A value has been dishonored. Fear, too, when met with gentle curiosity, points us toward what matters most. Every emotion carries a gift, but only when allowed through the door. A woman once described her lifelong anxiety as a buzzing bird trapped in her chest. For years she tried to silence it, to lock it away. But in meditation, she decided to open the cage and let the bird perch. She whispered, "Welcome, I see you." To her surprise, the anxiety softened. It was not a monster, it was unexpressed excitement, a longing to create, a fear of disappointment disguised as restlessness. By welcoming it, she uncovered its true nature. Welcoming emotions does not mean indulging them endlessly. It means hosting them with presence. Just as a good host offers a chair but does not let a guest take over the house, We can acknowledge our feelings without being consumed by them. We say, "Ah, sadness, you are here. Sit with me a while." Or, "Anger, I see you. Tell me your story." When we listen, the guest speaks. When heard, they depart in peace. Suppression, by contrast, is like locking guests out in the cold. They do not vanish. They pound at the door louder. They break windows. They demand entry. Expression, mindful and compassionate, is opening the door before the knocking turns to chaos. It is saying, "You may come in, you may stay for now, but I know you are a visitor, not the owner of this house." This perspective frees us from fear. No feeling can take over forever. Each is temporary, like weather passing through the sky of the heart. Try this practice. The next time a difficult feeling arises, pause. Close your eyes. Imagine your heart as a house with a front door. Picture the emotion standing there. What does it look like? How does it feel? Now, gently, open the door. Say silently, "Welcome, I know you are here." Offer the emotion a chair inside your awareness. Breathe with it for a few moments. Notice how, once acknowledged, it often shifts like a guest who relaxes once they are finally invited in. Over time, this practice transforms your relationship with yourself. Instead of fearing emotions, you trust them as guides. Instead of resisting, you listen. Instead of being overrun, you learn to host wisely. Joy is welcomed, but so is sorrow. Anger has a place, as does compassion. All are part of the great household of being human. The guest house of the heart is not always tidy. Some visitors leave dishes, others slam doors. Yet even the mess is a teacher. Each visitor leaves something behind: a lesson, a reminder, a gift, and the house, your heart, grows larger with each guest received. It becomes more spacious, more compassionate, more alive. So tonight, as you prepare to rest, pause at the threshold of your own awareness. Ask, who is knocking at my heart's door right now? Maybe it is joy, maybe grief, maybe fear, maybe love. Open the door, let them in. Say, "Welcome, teach me what you came to show," and trust that, like all guests, they will eventually leave, making room for the next arrival. In this way, your heart becomes a true home, one that welcomes every visitor, and through that welcome, discovers the boundless capacity to heal. The now is enough. What if the cure you've been searching for has always been hiding in your next breath? What if peace, healing, and clarity are not waiting in some distant future, but living quietly in the present moment? This is the radical truth at the heart of Zen. The now is not only all you have, it is all you need. The now is enough. Most of us live in mental time travel. We replay yesterday's regrets like an endless film reel, or we fast forward into tomorrow's worries, scripting catastrophes that haven't even happened. Meanwhile, the present, the only place where life actually occurs, slips through our fingers. The Buddha discovered under the Bodhi tree that suffering comes not from pain itself, but from the mind's refusal to rest in now. The past is memory, the future is imagination, only the present is real. Consider the way anxiety works. Anxiety is rarely about this moment. It is about what if. What if I fail? What if they leave? What if this never ends? These what-ifs live in the future. When you anchor into now, this breath, this heartbeat, this sound of life around you, the what-ifs dissolve because they cannot exist in present reality. Similarly, regret lives in the past. I should have, I could have, I wish I had. But here, in this moment, none of that exists. Here, there is only breath, and breath is always enough. There was once a man with chronic pain who struggled for years. He tried countless treatments, yet nothing offered lasting relief. One afternoon, exhausted from fighting his body, he sat under a tree. For the first time, he stopped striving to escape the pain. He simply breathed, watching leaves shift in the wind. The pain did not vanish, but something changed. His suffering lessened. He discovered he could live with discomfort, but not with the endless war against it. In presence, even pain became bearable. Zen teachers use the metaphor of a snow globe. When shaken, the snow whirls, clouding vision. This is the mind when it spins with thoughts of past and future. But when set down, the flakes settle. The scene that was always there reveals itself. In the same way, when you rest in the now, clarity returns. Life was never absent. You were simply too busy shaking the globe to see it. The beauty of presence is its simplicity. You do not need special tools or circumstances. You can practice now, wherever you are. Washing dishes, feel the warmth of water on your hands. Walking to your car, notice the rhythm of your steps. Drinking coffee, taste it fully without distraction. Each act, when done with presence, becomes sacred. The now does not ask for perfection, it asks only for attention. Try this practice. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. As you inhale, silently say, "Now is safe." As you exhale, whisper, "Now is enough." Repeat 3 times. Notice what shifts. Perhaps your shoulders drop. Perhaps your breath deepens. Perhaps nothing changes right away, and that too is fine. The point is not to achieve a state, but to arrive in the one place you already are here. When you live anchored in now, life softens, food tastes richer, colors appear brighter, conversations deepen, even challenges lose some of their sting, because you meet them directly instead of dragging the weight of yesterday and the fear of tomorrow onto them. You begin to realize that joy was never hiding. It was always here, beneath the noise of mental time travel. The now is not glamorous. It will not always feel blissful. Sometimes the now is sadness. Sometimes it is discomfort. Sometimes it is uncertainty. But even then, it is enough, because when you stop resisting, you discover that presence itself is peace. Not peace as the absence of difficulty, but peace as the acceptance of reality. So tonight, before sleep, sit quietly and place your hand on your heart. Breathe deeply. Whisper, "This moment is enough." Let those words settle into your body. Feel how, in this breath, nothing is missing. In this breath, you are whole. In this breath, you are alive. And that, dear friend, is always enough. Breaking free from mental time travel. Your mind is a restless traveler. It wanders into yesterday, replaying mistakes and regrets. It leaps into tomorrow, weaving stories of worry and fear. Rarely does it linger here, in the one place where life is actually happening, the present. This habit of mental time travel is one of the greatest sources of human suffering. Breaking free from it does not mean erasing memory or abandoning planning. It means learning to return, again and again, to now. Think of how often your thoughts drift to the past. You replay conversations, wondering what you should have said, You carry guilt over choices you cannot undo. You relive moments of loss as though clutching at smoke. Memory can be a teacher, but when we become stuck there, it becomes a prison. The past is a place to visit, not to live. The future, too, can consume us. Anxiety thrives in the territory of what if. What if I fail? What if I lose? What if something goes wrong? These are shadows cast by a mind leaping ahead, projecting fears onto blank pages. The future can be planned for, but it cannot be controlled. And yet we pour energy into rehearsing tragedies that may never arrive. In doing so, we miss the reality unfolding right now. Zen practice offers us a different way. The body is always present. The breath is always present. If you anchor yourself here, the mind's endless travels begin to quiet. Imagine a snow globe. Shake it, and the flakes whirl chaotically, blinding you. Set it down, and the snow settles. The scene beneath is revealed. This is what happens when we stop shaking our minds with constant past and future thinking. Clarity was always there, we simply could not see it. There was a woman who described her anxiety as a smoke alarm that never turned off. Every day, it blared warnings of danger that never came. Through mindfulness practice, she discovered that when she focused on her breath, inhale, exhale, the alarm softened. She realized that the alarm was not predicting real danger. It was her mind rehearsing fear. By anchoring in now, she learned to distinguish between imagined threats and actual experience. Breaking free from mental time travel does not mean we forget the past or ignore the future. It means we relate to them differently. We honor the past as memory, learning from it, but we do not let it chain us. We acknowledge the future as possibility, preparing for it, but we do not let it consume us. We return, again and again, to the only reality we can ever touch. This breath, this step, this moment. Try this. The next time you notice yourself lost in regret or worry, pause. Place your hand on your belly. Take one deep breath and say, silently, I am here. Feel the rise and fall beneath your hand. Notice the ground beneath your feet. Look around and name 3 things you see. This simple act pulls you out of time travel and back into presence. Over time, you will notice that your mind still travels. It is its nature. But you will no longer be kidnapped by every thought. You will watch the mind wander and gently call it home. Each return is a victory. Each return is freedom. Breaking free is not about stopping thought. It is about releasing identification with thought. The past is memory. The future is imagination. You are neither. You are the awareness in which memory and imagination appear, and awareness is always now. So tonight, before sleep, notice where your mind drifts. If it runs into yesterday, whisper, that is memory. If it leaps into tomorrow, whisper, that is imagination. Then place your hand on your heart and breathe. This is real. This is now. And in that simple recognition, you break free from the endless travel, arriving at the only destination that has ever mattered here. Ordinary acts as sacred practice. What if brushing your teeth, washing the dishes, or sipping your morning coffee could become your most important meditation? What if the sacred was not hidden in temples or mountains, but waiting quietly in the ordinary moments of your daily life? This is the essence of Zen. Enlightenment is not somewhere else. It is here, in the simple act of being present with what is. Most of us treat ordinary tasks as obstacles, something to rush through so we can get to what really matters. Dishes are hurried, meals are swallowed without noticing, showers are taken with minds already at work. In doing so, we miss the life that is unfolding right where we are. The extraordinary hides inside the ordinary, but only if we are awake enough to see it. In Zen monasteries, monks practice what is called same, or mindful work, sweeping the floor, preparing food, tending the garden. These are treated with the same reverence as seated meditation. The act is not just about achieving a clean floor or a cooked meal. It is about arriving fully in the task. Each sweep of the broom becomes a bow. Each chop of the vegetable becomes a prayer. The work itself becomes sacred. Consider the simple act of drinking tea. In a tea ceremony, the entire process is slowed down. The kettle boils, steam rises, cups are placed with care. The host and guest bow to each other. The tea is not just consumed, it is experienced. Every detail becomes an offering of presence. The tea itself is no different than the one you could brew at home. What transforms it is attention. What makes it sacred is presence. There was a woman who described how her life changed when she began practicing mindful dishwashing. At first, she hated the chore. It felt endless, thankless. But her teacher invited her to wash one plate as though it were the only plate in the world. She slowed down. She felt the warmth of the water, the texture of the soap, the rhythm of her hands. For the first time, she realized that washing dishes could be soothing, even joyful. She said later, "I used to rush to finish the dishes so I could live. Now I realize washing the dishes is living." When we bring attention to ordinary acts, they stop being chores and become rituals. Eating becomes communion with the earth. Walking becomes a dance with gravity. Brushing teeth becomes an act of gratitude for the body. Even breathing so ordinary we barely notice it becomes a miracle when attended to. Life does not need to be exotic to be sacred. It only needs to be noticed. Try this practice. Today, choose one ordinary task and do it with full attention. If you wash your hands, feel the temperature of the water, the texture of the soap, the sensation of rinsing. If you walk to the mailbox, notice the ground beneath your feet, the air against your skin, the rhythm of your steps. If you eat, chew slowly, savoring each bite. Let this one act be your meditation. Notice how it feels when you give the ordinary your full presence. This practice does not add more to your life. It reveals what was always there. You discover that sacredness is not about escaping daily life. It is about entering it fully. When you live this way, the boundaries between mundane and spiritual dissolve. Every act becomes a prayer. Every moment becomes holy. The ordinary is not a distraction from the path. It is the path. To treat it with reverence is to recognize that life itself is enough. When you bow to the task before you, whether cooking, cleaning, or simply breathing, you bow to the miracle of existence. And in that bow, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. So tonight, as you brush your teeth or fold your clothes, pause, feel the texture, notice the movement, breathe with the moment, whisper quietly, "This too is sacred." And with that simple awareness, your whole life becomes a living meditation, a temple without walls, a prayer without end. Presence in pain and discomfort. A headache is not the enemy, our resistance to it is. A backache is not a betrayal, our fear of it is. Pain and discomfort, whether physical or emotional, often feel unbearable not because of the sensations themselves, but because of the stories we weave around them. This will never end. Something is terribly wrong. I can't live like this. Yet when we bring presence to pain, the suffering begins to shift. We discover that pain, while real, is not as solid or permanent as it seems. Presence is the medicine that transforms our relationship to discomfort. The Buddha distinguished between pain and suffering. Pain, he said, is like being struck by an arrow. Suffering is like being struck by a second arrow, the one we fire at ourselves through fear, resistance, and story. The first arrow may be unavoidable, the second is optional. Presence is what stops us from shooting that second arrow. It allows us to meet what is happening directly, without adding layers of mental anguish. Consider the story of a woman living with chronic illness. For years, she felt trapped in her body, constantly fighting symptoms. One day, exhausted, she decided to try a different approach. Instead of pushing the pain away, she sat quietly with it. She breathed deeply and whispered inwardly, "I am here. I will not abandon you." To her surprise, something shifted. The pain did not vanish, but it softened. More importantly, her relationship with her body changed. She realized she could coexist with discomfort without being consumed by it. Presence turned the enemy into a companion. Presence in pain does not mean passivity. It does not mean giving up on treatment or ignoring what needs medical care. It means approaching discomfort with curiosity instead of fear, compassion instead of judgment. When your stomach tightens with anxiety, notice, where exactly do you feel it? Is it fluttering, twisting, heavy? When grief aches in your chest, place a hand there. Feel its weight, its temperature, its rhythm. Naming sensations anchors you in the present, transforming vague suffering into specific awareness. There was once a man who suffered migraines. Instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this?" his teacher invited him to ask, "What is this?" With eyes closed, he described the sensations: pulsing, heat, pressure. He noticed that the pain was not one solid block, but a collection of changing sensations, sometimes sharper, sometimes duller, sometimes moving. By observing, he discovered that pain itself was impermanent, always shifting. This realization brought relief. What he had thought was a wall was actually a wave. Zen practice often compares discomfort to a guest. When you slam the door in their face, they bang louder. When you open the door and say, "Come in, I see you," they usually soften. Pain works the same way. Ignored, it screams. Welcomed, it speaks. Often, its message is simple: slow down, rest, grieve, release. When you listen, the urgency lessens. The body, like a child, calms when it feels heard. Try this practice. The next time you feel discomfort, instead of reaching immediately for distraction, pause. Breathe into the area of pain. Place your hand gently there. Whisper inwardly, "I am here with you." Notice what happens. Maybe the sensation shifts, maybe it does not. Either way, you have transformed the relationship. You are no longer running from your body, you are sitting with it, as you would with a friend in need. Emotional pain responds the same way. When sadness arises, instead of numbing it with busyness, sit and breathe. "Hello, grief, I see you." When anger burns, instead of suppressing it, whisper, "I hear your fire." Teach me what boundary you are protecting. When fear trembles, place a hand on your belly and say, "Thank you for trying to keep me safe." Presence does not erase emotions, but it allows them to move through instead of getting stuck. Pain and discomfort are part of life. No practice can erase them entirely, but presence changes everything. It turns fear into curiosity, resistance into compassion, suffering into wisdom. You begin to realize that discomfort does not have to define you. It is not who you are. It is something you experience. And like all experiences, it will change. So tonight, if you feel an ache in your body or heaviness in your heart, pause. Place your hand gently where it hurts. Breathe. Whisper, "This is pain, but I do not have to suffer. I am here. I am listening." In that moment, you reclaim your power. The pain may remain, but the suffering begins to dissolve. Presence does not always heal the body, but it always heals the relationship, and sometimes that is the deepest healing of all. The gate of just sitting. Imagine a meditation with no goal, no technique, no striving, only sitting, breathing, and being. This practice is known in Zen as shikantaza, often translated as just sitting. At first glance, it seems almost too simple. How can simply sitting without trying to fix, improve, or attain anything lead to healing or awakening? And yet, within this radical simplicity lies one of the deepest gates to freedom. Most of us approach life with constant effort to become better, to achieve more, to reach a future version of ourselves. Even our spiritual practices can become another form of striving, meditating to be calmer, praying to be stronger, practicing mindfulness to reduce stress. These are not wrong, but they all assume something is missing. Just sitting challenges this assumption. It whispers, what if nothing is missing right now? What if you are already whole? In Shakuntala, you sit down, align your posture, and simply remain present. Thoughts come, you notice them. Emotions rise, you acknowledge them. Sensations flow, you allow them. You do not chase pleasant states or push away unpleasant ones. You let everything be, like clouds drifting across the sky. You realize that you are not the clouds, you are the sky itself, vast enough to hold it all. There was once a monk who struggled with meditation. Every time he sat, his mind swirled with thoughts. He begged his teacher for a new technique. The teacher said gently, "Stop trying to meditate. Just sit." Frustrated, the monk obeyed. He sat, restless, fidgeting, doubting. But eventually, something shifted. He noticed that thoughts rose and fell on their own. He saw that his effort to control them was the very thing keeping him agitated. When he stopped striving, stillness emerged, not because he forced it, but because it was always there, beneath the noise. This is the paradox of just sitting. When you stop trying to get anywhere, you arrive. When you stop chasing peace, peace reveals itself. When you stop resisting discomfort, it becomes bearable. The gate opens not through effort, but through presence without agenda. Life itself becomes a form of Shakuntala when you live this way. Waiting in line, instead of scrolling through your phone, you just stand. Sitting at the bus stop, you just sit. Lying in bed at night, you just lie there, breathing. Nothing to change, nothing to force. You discover that presence is not something you create, it is something you notice. It was always here, waiting. Try this practice. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Sit comfortably, hands resting gently. Close your eyes if you wish. Do not try to control your breath. Do not try to clear your mind. Simply sit. When thoughts come, notice them, then return to sitting. When sensations arise, notice them, then return to sitting. When emotions visit, notice them, then return to sitting. The instruction is beautifully simple. Just sit. And in that simplicity, a profound stillness often appears. The gate of just sitting does not promise fireworks or mystical visions. Its gift is more subtle, the realization that you are already complete. That healing is not something to be achieved, but something to be uncovered. That beneath striving and stories, there is a quiet presence that is always whole. As Chapter 3 closes, remember this: presence is medicine. In Section 1, we saw that the now is enough. In Section 2, we learned to break free from mental time travel. In Section 3, we discovered the sacredness of ordinary acts. In Section 4, we found compassion even in pain and discomfort. And now, in Section 5, we rest in the ultimate simplicity, just sitting, no agenda, no fixing, no running, just being. So tonight, before sleep, take a few moments to practice Shakuntala. Sit or lie quietly, breathe naturally, whisper inwardly, nothing is missing. This moment is complete. Let that truth settle into your bones. Let it carry you into rest. The gate is always open. All you need to do is sit and be. Changing the story of aging. What if getting older isn't a decline, but a ripening? What if every wrinkle is not a mark of loss, but a map of wisdom? What if aging is not something happening to you, but something unfolding through you, a deepening, not a diminishing? The way we experience aging is shaped not only by biology, but by the stories we tell ourselves about it. To change the story is to change the experience. In modern culture, aging is often painted as the enemy. Advertisements urge us to fight wrinkles, defy gray hair, reverse time. The unspoken message is clear: youth is valuable, age is decline. But Buddhist wisdom offers a different perspective. It teaches us that everything in life ripens: the fruit on the tree, the wisdom of a teacher, the compassion of one who has suffered and survived, all deepen with time. Ripening is not decay. Ripening is fulfillment. Think of autumn leaves. They do not mourn the green they once held. They blaze into gold and crimson, revealing beauty that was impossible in spring. Or consider a piece of fruit. When young, it is firm and shiny, but often sour. As it ripens, it softens, sweetens, and becomes nourishment. The skin may bruise more easily, but the essence becomes richer. What if aging works the same way? What if the changes of the body are not proof of decline, but signs of transformation? There was a woman who once dreaded every new line on her face. She avoided mirrors, counted birthdays with dread. But after encountering Zen practice, she began a new ritual. Each morning, instead of criticizing, she touched her face gently and whispered, "Thank you for showing me the years I have lived." Slowly, her reflection became not an enemy, but a companion. She saw in her wrinkles laughter, sorrow, survival. Her story shifted. She was not falling apart. She was becoming whole. Science even supports this shift. Studies show that people who view aging positively live longer and healthier lives. The beliefs we hold shape our biology. When we constantly tell ourselves, "I'm too old, I'm declining, my best years are behind me," our bodies listen. Cells respond to stories. But when we choose a different narrative, "I am ripening, I am deepening, I am becoming more fully myself," our bodies respond with resilience. Story is medicine. Zen teachers remind us that impermanence is not tragedy, it is truth. To resist impermanence is to suffer. To embrace it is to live. A tree does not cling to summer leaves. It releases them to make way for spring's return. In the same way, we can release the illusion that youth is the only season worth living. Each season of life has its gifts. Youth holds energy, midlife holds responsibility, age holds wisdom. None is superior. All are essential. Try this practice. Tonight, sit quietly and write 2 sentences. First, I used to believe aging meant fill in the old story, decline, invisibility, loss. Then write, now I choose to believe aging means and fill in a new story, ripening, deepening, freedom, wisdom. Read it aloud. Feel how the body responds. Often, the story alone shifts the energy we carry. Changing the story of aging does not mean pretending every part of it is easy. There will be aches, losses, limitations, but within these is a deeper beauty. Slowing down can become an invitation to notice more. Wrinkles can become maps of a life well lived. Gray hair can become a crown of survival. Instead of mourning what fades, we can celebrate what remains and what grows richer. So tonight, as you look at yourself in the mirror, pause. Instead of searching for signs of decline, whisper a new story. I am not growing old. I am ripening. I am not losing myself. I am becoming more myself. And in that simple act of reframing, aging transforms from something to fear into something to embrace. The story changes, and with it, so does the life you live. From youth's shine to wisdom's glow. A fruit when young is glossy, firm and vibrant in color, yet bite into it too soon, and it may be sour, unready to nourish. Let it ripen, and the skin softens, spots appear, and its sweetness deepens. Human life unfolds in much the same way. Youth shines with energy, beauty, and possibility. Age, however, glows with depth, compassion, and wisdom. To honor both is to see the fullness of life's spectrum. Modern culture idolizes the shine of youth. We praise quickness, beauty, and novelty. We celebrate beginnings while often overlooking the quiet glow that comes later. But Zen invites us to notice that shine without glow can be hollow. A candle that flares too quickly may burn out fast. Glow is steadier. It carries warmth, not for minutes, but for hours. Wisdom's glow is the gift of time, experience, and endurance. Think of a young river, rushing, loud, carving new paths. Its power is undeniable. Yet think also of a deep lake, calm, reflective, holding the sky in its stillness. Both are water. Both are beautiful. One dazzles with motion, the other nourishes with peace. Youth's shine inspires. Wisdom's glow sustains. There was once a teacher who spoke of his own aging this way. In my 20s, I wanted to be impressive. In my 40s, I wanted to be right. In my 60s, I want only to be real. With age, The masks fell away. He no longer needed to perform for others. His glow came not from proving himself, but from living authentically. His students were drawn to him not for his youthful energy, but for his depth of presence. Wisdom's glow is not earned easily. It comes through heartbreaks survived, failures endured, lessons integrated. A young person may read about compassion, but one who has lived through grief understands it in their bones. A young person may dream of resilience, but one who has faced illness or loss embodies it without words. Glow is not taught, it is lived. Science confirms what ancient wisdom has always known. Emotional intelligence and empathy often deepen with age. The brain may process slower, but the heart understands more fully. Priorities shift. Small irritation matter less. Connection matters more. You stop asking, "How do I impress the world?" and start asking, "How do I live true to myself?" This is glow, the steady flame that illuminates from within. Try this reflection. Recall a person you admire deeply, perhaps a grandparent, a mentor, an elder. Was it their physical shine that inspired you? Or was it the way they listened, the steadiness of their presence, the warmth of their eyes? Shine fades with time, but glow endures. Glow comes from character, from essence, from the ripening of the soul. Zen reminds us, impermanence is not to be feared, but embraced. The shine of youth is impermanent, but so is the glow of wisdom. Each has its season, each its gift. To cling to shine alone is to miss the beauty of glow. To embrace glow is to recognize that life's richness grows deeper with time. So tonight, as you reflect on your own journey, whisper to yourself, "I carry both shine and glow. My youth inspired me. My years have ripened me. I am not less radiant now, I shine differently." And in that whisper, you honor every season of your life, the sparkle of youth and the steady glow of wisdom, each necessary, each sacred. Grace in impermanence. Autumn leaves do not mourn their fall. They blaze into brilliance before drifting to the ground. Snow does not resist the sun. It melts gracefully, nourishing the earth for spring. Every season of nature embodies impermanence, not as tragedy, but as transformation. We, too, are part of this rhythm. To resist impermanence is to suffer. To bow to it is to discover grace. From the moment we are born, change is our only constant. Cells die and renew. Skin sheds and regenerates. Hair grays, bodies soften, memories fade. Yet instead of honoring impermanence as the fabric of life, we often treat it as an enemy. We cling to youth, to possessions, to roles and identities, as if we could freeze them in time. But impermanence cannot be stopped. It can only be embraced. The Buddha taught that impermanence is the key to liberation. Why? Because if everything changes, then no pain lasts forever. No joy either, but no suffering is eternal. The storm passes. The wound heals. The heartbroken one laughs again. This truth may sting at first, but within it lies profound freedom. Nothing is permanent, not even despair. Consider the story of an elderly man who tended a garden for decades. Each year he planted, harvested, and let the soil rest. When asked how he never grew weary of repeating the same cycle, he smiled, "Because each season teaches me anew. Spring reminds me to hope, summer shows me growth, autumn teaches me to let go. Winter invites me to rest. For him, impermanence was not a loss, it was the rhythm of wisdom. He aged as his garden aged, learning to see beauty in each stage. Impermanence also reveals the preciousness of life. A sunset is beautiful precisely because it ends. A flower's bloom moves us because we know it will fade. The people we love become dearer when we remember they, too, are impermanent. Instead of taking moments for granted, we hold them tenderly, knowing they will not last. Far from depressing, this awareness fills life with richness. Each moment is more vivid when we know it cannot be repeated. Zen teachers often point to a broken cup. When you hold a cup, imagine it already shattered. This way, when it eventually breaks, you are not devastated, for you always knew it was temporary. Yet while you have it, you cherish it more deeply. To see life this way is to live gracefully within impermanence. Try this practice. Choose one ordinary thing today, a flower, a meal, a conversation, and remind yourself, this will not last. Then, instead of sadness, notice the surge of gratitude. Taste the food more fully, listen more deeply, look more lovingly. Impermanence sharpens presence. It teaches us to stop sleepwalking through life and instead savor what is here. Aging, too, becomes less frightening when seen through the lens of impermanence. Yes, the body changes, energy wanes, but so do fears, attachments, and the need to prove ourselves. With each passing season, unnecessary burdens fall away. Just as autumn leaves make way for new growth, impermanence clears space for clarity, authenticity, and wisdom. Aging with grace is nothing more than cooperating with impermanence, bowing to its beauty instead of resisting its truth. So tonight, as you rest, reflect on something in your life that has changed, a role you no longer play, a stage you have passed through, a body that has shifted. Whisper gently, "Thank you for what you gave me. Thank you for what you taught me. I release you now." In that release, feel the grace of impermanence. Like the tree in autumn, you are not losing yourself. You are becoming more fully part of the great rhythm of life, where every ending is also a beginning. Humor, acceptance, and freedom. Some mornings, your body surprises you with a new sound, creaks in the knees, stiffness in the back, or a groan rising uninvited as you get out of bed. You could greet these changes with frustration, but what if you met them with humor instead? What if laughter, acceptance, and curiosity became your companions in aging? This is the path to freedom. Learning to smile at life's changes rather than fear them. Aging often brings unexpected inconveniences. Memory falters, energy dips, skin loosens. Our culture teaches us to resist these changes, to view them as failures, but resistance only deepens suffering. When we meet them with humor, something softens. A laugh at our own forgetfulness, a chuckle at our slower pace. These small gestures transform burdens into lightness. Humor does not deny reality, it makes it more bearable. There was once a man who said, "Every morning I play a game called, 'What new sound will my body make today?'" Instead of despair, he found joy in noticing. His laughter did not erase his aches, but it kept him free from bitterness. By laughing, he stayed open, curious, even playful with the changes. This attitude became medicine, not just for him, but for everyone around him. His family felt lighter in his presence, inspired by his refusal to let aging steal his spirit. Acceptance goes hand in hand with humor. To accept is not to give up, it is to stop fighting what cannot be changed. Acceptance says, yes, this is happening, and I can live with it. Like a tree bending in the wind instead of breaking, acceptance makes us resilient. It transforms suffering into grace. A wrinkle becomes a story. A gray hair becomes a crown. A slower pace becomes an invitation to notice what was once rushed past. Freedom arises from this combination of humor and acceptance. When you no longer hide from aging, you are free to live more fully. When you stop pretending to be 20 forever, you free yourself from the exhausting game of comparison. Instead, you walk honestly, unapologetically, into each season of life. This honesty is liberating. It allows you to focus not on what is fading, but on what is deepening: connection, wisdom, compassion. Zen masters often embody this spirit. Many are known for their laughter, their willingness to poke fun at themselves and at the seriousness of life. They remind us that enlightenment is not heavy, it is light. To carry life lightly, with humor and acceptance, is to discover true freedom. Try this practice. The next time you notice a sign of aging that frustrates you, pause, smile gently, say aloud, "Ah, there you are, my new teacher." Laugh softly if you can. Then breathe and whisper, "I accept you. Thank you for reminding me of impermanence." Notice how your body responds. Often, the tension eases. The change feels less threatening, more like a companion on the journey. Humor and acceptance also make us kinder. When we accept our own imperfections, we judge others less harshly. When we laugh at our own quirks, we invite others to laugh with us, not at us. This shared humanity creates connection. Aging then becomes not an isolating decline, but a communal passage filled with warmth and shared stories. So tonight, as you prepare for rest, recall one moment from your day where aging showed itself, perhaps a forgetful moment, a stiff joint, a laugh line in the mirror. Instead of sighing, smile. Whisper, "I accept you. You are part of me. You set me free." And in that moment of humor and acceptance, feel the freedom that arises not from changing your body, but from changing your story. That is the deepest kind of liberation, the ripening of the human spirit. With each passing year, you are not fading, you are distilling. Like wine that matures into richness or cheese that deepens in flavor, the human spirit ripens over time. Aging is not merely the softening of the body, but the concentrating of essence. What falls away are the superficial layers, the need to impress, the urge to compete, the masks of performance. What remains is authenticity, wisdom, and depth, the glow of a ripened spirit. Youth dazzles with speed and shine, but the ripened spirit nourishes with steadiness and truth. A young fruit may look perfect, but taste sharp and unfinished. A ripened fruit, though spotted and softened, offers sweetness and sustenance. In the same way, life's later years often bring qualities no amount of youth could provide: patience, clarity, compassion forged in the fires of experience. There was once a woman who described her journey through aging like this: "In my 20s, I chased approval. In my 30s, I chased success. In my 40s, I chased control. But now, in my 60s, I want only to be real." She spoke not with regret, but with relief. Each decade had stripped away illusions, leaving her spirit freer, lighter, and more authentic. She no longer felt the need to prove her worth. She had discovered it within. The ripening of the spirit is not about denying loss. The body may slow, memory may falter, energy may wane, but in this slowing, something new emerges. Spaciousness, space to notice beauty that was once overlooked, space to listen more deeply, space to cherish relationships over accomplishments. Aging shifts the question from "how much can I achieve?" to "how deeply can I live?" This is ripening. Zen offers us the metaphor of the autumn tree. In summer, it is full and green. In autumn, it releases what no longer serves, letting leaves fall with grace. Far from barren, the tree reveals its true shape. Branches, once hidden, become visible, intricate, beautiful in their simplicity. Likewise, as we age, we shed what no longer serves, attachments, comparisons, pretenses, and reveal the essence of who we are. Try this reflection. Write down 3 things you have released with age. Perhaps it is the need to be liked by everyone, the urge to chase endless productivity, or the fear of not being enough. Then write 3 gifts you have gained in their place: patience, courage, compassion, or freedom. Notice how ripening is not about loss, but about exchange. Something is always given up, but something richer always arrives. The ripening of the spirit also makes us teachers, even without trying. Elders who live with dignity and authenticity become living examples of what is possible. They remind us that true beauty does not fade with time, it transforms. They show that resilience is not in pretending nothing has changed, but in embracing change with open arms. Their glow is not the spark of youth, but the steady flame of presence. So tonight, as you reflect on your own journey, whisper, "I am ripening. My body may change, but my spirit grows richer. My essence distills with each passing year." Feel the truth of these words in your bones. You are not less radiant now, you are radiant in a different way. This is the gift of aging with awareness. This is the ripening of the human spirit. With this, Chapter 4 comes to a close. We have seen that aging is not decline but transformation, a story we can rewrite, a glow that deepens beyond youth, a grace found in impermanence, a freedom born of humor and acceptance, and a ripening of essence that only time can reveal. Aging is not an enemy to fight, but a teacher to bow to. And in bowing, we discover that the journey of growing older is, in truth, the journey of becoming more fully ourselves. Why the body heals for a reason. The body does not heal only because of medicine, rest, or chance. The body heals for a reason. Beneath biology, there is meaning. Beneath the mechanics of cells and organs, there is purpose. Healing is not just about survival, it is about remembering why we want to live. Without a reason, the body falters. With a reason, it finds strength beyond measure. Doctors have long noticed this truth. 2 patients with the same diagnosis can have vastly different outcomes. One fades quickly, while the other recovers against all odds. Why? Often, it comes down to meaning. The one who has something to live for, a child to see grow up, a garden to tend, a book to finish, summons energy the other cannot. The will to heal is not an abstract idea. It is medicine as real as any drug. Buddhism speaks of right livelihood, not only in work but in purpose. To live aligned with your heart, to serve something greater than yourself, generates energy that sustains the body. A monk once said, "Teaching is why my legs still work." He rose before dawn every morning, guiding meditation long after his peers retired. His body found strength not through denial of age, but through devotion to purpose. Meaning gave him vitality. Science echoes this wisdom. Studies show that people with a sense of purpose live longer, recover faster, and experience less chronic disease. Their immune systems respond more strongly. Their nervous systems calm more easily. Purpose is not luxury, it is survival. Cells seem to listen when the heart whispers, "I still have work to do. I still have love to give." There was once a woman who, after retiring, fell into deep depression. Her body weakened, her energy drained. Then one day, she stumbled into a library where a children's story hour was about to be cancelled. She volunteered to read. That small act rekindled her joy. She returned week after week, discovering that her voice, her presence, her warmth were medicine for the children and for herself. Her health improved, her depression lifted, her body responded to her newfound reason: she was needed. This is why the body heals for a reason. Healing is not only physical, it is existential. We are not machines to be repaired, but beings woven from meaning. When we lose sight of why we want to live, our energy dims. When we remember, even in small ways, why life is worth living, vitality returns. Try this reflection. Tonight, write down one reason you want to wake up tomorrow. It does not need to be grand. It might be to water your plants, to hear a loved one's voice, to watch the sunrise. Let this reason settle in your heart. Whisper it before sleep. This is why I heal. This is why I live. Notice how your body responds to being given a purpose. Healing is not guaranteed. Illness, age, and death are part of impermanence. But within these truths lies power. While we live, we can align with meaning, and meaning changes everything. The body heals not just because it can, but because it has a reason to. And when we live with purpose, we give our bodies that reason. So tonight, place your hand on your heart and whisper, "I have a reason to live. I have a reason to heal." Let that reason, however small, be the light that guides your body, mind, and spirit into tomorrow. Service as medicine. What if the greatest medicine you could offer yourself is not found in pills or therapies, but in service to others? What if helping, giving, and connecting were not drains on your energy, but deep sources of healing? Service, in the Buddhist tradition, is not sacrifice, it is nourishment. To serve is to step out of the prison of self-concern and into the freedom of interconnection. In doing so, we discover a medicine that renews both body and spirit. When we focus only on ourselves, our pain, our worries, our limitations, suffering grows heavier. The mind circles endlessly around what is lacking. But when we turn outward, when we listen to another, comfort another, or lend a hand, something shifts. Energy once consumed by self-concern begins to flow freely. Compassion clears the stagnation of fear. Love becomes circulation for the soul. Consider a man who lived alone after retirement. His health began to decline. Aches multiplied. Fatigue deepened. At his doctor's suggestion, he began volunteering once a week at a food bank. At first, he doubted he had the energy. But after a few weeks, something surprising happened. His body felt lighter, his mood lifted. He described it this way: "When I carry bags of food for others, it feels like I'm carrying less weight in myself." Service did not drain him, it revived him. Science supports what ancient wisdom has long known. Acts of kindness release oxytocin, lower blood pressure, and boost the immune system. Helping others reduces stress hormones and increases feelings of connection. Far from being a burden, genuine service is medicine for both giver and receiver. In Buddhism, this is called dana, the practice of giving without expectation. Dana is not about grand gestures. It can be as small as offering a smile, a kind word, or a moment of genuine listening. A monk once said, "The greatest gift you can give is your presence." To truly listen to someone, to see them without judgment, is often more healing than any advice. Service is not about fixing others. It is about being with them, and in being with them, remembering we are not alone. There was once a woman who struggled with depression after losing her job. Her therapist suggested she volunteer at an animal shelter. At first, she resisted. What could she give when she felt so broken? Yet when she began caring for the animals, cleaning their spaces, offering gentle touch, she noticed her own heart softening. The animals did not care about her resume, they cared about her presence. In serving them, she began to heal. Try this reflection. Think of one small act of service you can offer today. Perhaps it is calling someone who is lonely, helping a neighbor with groceries, or writing a note of gratitude. Do it not as obligation, but as medicine. Notice how your own body and spirit respond. Service often gives back more than it requires. True service does not deplete, it replenishes. When you align with compassion, you tap into a current larger than yourself. You are no longer running on your own limited energy. You are participating in the flow of life. This is why service heals. It reminds us that we are not separate, that our well-being is tied to the well-being of others. To serve is to remember we belong. So tonight, before sleep, whisper to yourself, "Tomorrow I will serve in some small way. Tomorrow I will give." Let that intention be your medicine, and when you rise, let your hands, your voice, your presence carry healing not only to others, but back into yourself. Because service is not just what you give, it is what you become. Service is medicine, transforming wounds into gifts. What if the very wounds you've carried, the heartbreaks, the illnesses, the betrayals, were not signs of weakness, but seeds of medicine? What if your greatest suffering could become your greatest gift to the world? In Buddhism, this is known as turning poison into medicine. The lotus flower blooms not in pristine soil, but in mud. Likewise, our wounds are not obstacles to healing. They are the raw material for wisdom and compassion. Pain changes us. It humbles, softens, and deepens us. It strips away illusions of control and perfection. But pain also offers us a choice. We can harden around it, becoming bitter, or we can open through it, becoming wiser. Those who choose the second path discover something extraordinary. Their suffering becomes a bridge to others. What once isolated them now connects them to the shared human experience. There was once a man who struggled with addiction for years. After finding recovery, he chose to help others walking the same path. His wound became his gift. People trusted him not because he was perfect, but because he had lived their pain. His credibility was his scar. He often said, "My darkest years became my greatest qualification to serve." What once nearly destroyed him became medicine for others. Similarly, a woman who lost her child to illness spent years in unbearable grief. But in time, she began a foundation to support other parents in loss. Her wound never disappeared, but it transformed. The depth of her sorrow became the depth of her compassion. She could sit with others in pain without flinching, because she knew it intimately. Her wound became her gift. In Buddhist teachings, suffering is never wasted if it is met with awareness. Each difficulty carries within it the possibility of awakening. Anger, when transformed, becomes clarity about boundaries. Fear becomes wisdom about what matters most. Grief becomes compassion for others. Even shame can become humility and understanding. The alchemy lies in presence, choosing to feel and learn rather than to numb or deny. Try this reflection. Take one wound from your life, perhaps an illness, a heartbreak, a failure. Write it down. Then ask yourself, what has this taught me? What qualities has this pain grown in me? Patience, empathy, strength. Finally, ask, how might these qualities serve others? In this way, your wound becomes a teacher, and its lesson becomes a gift you can share. Transforming wounds does not mean romanticizing pain. Some wounds cut deep and remain tender. Healing does not always mean erasing scars, but scars can be beautiful. They show where healing has already occurred. In Japanese art, broken pottery is repaired with gold, a practice called kintsugi. The cracks are not hidden. They are illuminated, celebrated as part of the object's story. Our wounds, too, can be lined with gold when we choose to honor them as part of our wholeness. The world does not need our perfection. It needs our authenticity. It needs people who have walked through fire and emerged with wisdom to share. It needs those who can say, "I know what it feels like. You are not alone." In this way, every wound can become an offering. Every scar can shine as proof that healing is possible. So tonight, place your hand over a place in your body or heart where you still feel wounded. Whisper, "Thank you for teaching me. Thank you for shaping me. I will turn this into a gift." Let that intention settle into you. Know that your pain is not wasted. It is becoming medicine for yourself and for all those who will one day be touched by your presence. This is the art of transforming wounds into gifts. Small acts, big meaning. Holding the door for someone, smiling at a stranger, sending a short message of gratitude. These may seem like tiny, forgettable actions. Yet to a weary soul, they can be medicine. In a world obsessed with grand achievements and dramatic gestures, it is easy to overlook the quiet power of small acts. But Buddhism teaches that even the simplest act of kindness ripples outward in ways we cannot measure. Small does not mean insignificant. Small is often the most meaningful. Think of a time someone offered you a simple kindness. Perhaps it was a friend who listened without judgment, a neighbor who waved, a stranger who complimented your smile. Did it not stay with you longer than you expected? These gestures, small in effort, are enormous in impact because they speak to our most human need, to be seen, acknowledged, and valued. In Zen, the practice of dana generosity reminds us that giving does not need to be material or large-scale. True giving is presence. True generosity is attention. A monk once said, "When you listen fully to someone, you are giving them the rarest gift. your undivided presence. In a distracted world, to stop, to see, to listen is a revolutionary act, and it is available to everyone, every day. There was a man who made it his practice to sit on a bench outside his grocery store, greeting everyone who passed. He said good morning to tired workers, encouraged parents juggling children, and shared warm words with elders. At first, people thought little of it, but over time, his greetings became known in the community. People sought him out for that one moment of kindness. Some even said his words kept them going through hard days. His small act became a lifeline. Small acts are also deeply healing for the giver. A woman struggling with loneliness began a practice of writing one thank you note each week. Sometimes it was to a friend, sometimes to a cashier, sometimes to someone from her past. Each note took only a few minutes, but it changed her. She reported feeling less isolated, more connected, more alive. In giving small acknowledgements, she received a profound gift in return. Try this practice. Today, choose one small act of kindness. It could be as simple as texting someone, "I'm thinking of you," offering your seat on a bus, or leaving a note of encouragement for a coworker. Do it without expectation. Then notice how you feel afterward. Often, these acts bring a subtle warmth to the heart, a reminder that you have the power to shift the world in small, beautiful ways. Small acts accumulate. A smile leads to a softened heart, which leads to another act of kindness, which ripples onward. We cannot always measure the effects, but they are real. A person on the edge of despair may be pulled back by one kind gesture. A child may remember a teacher's encouraging word for a lifetime. A stranger's small kindness may inspire someone to pass it forward. These are the quiet revolutions of compassion. Zen reminds us that enlightenment is not found only in mountaintop meditations, but in how we treat one another moment to moment. To offer a small act with genuine presence is to embody awakening. It is to make the sacred visible in daily life. So tonight, before you sleep, think of one small act you received today and one you offered. Whisper gratitude for both. Let your heart rest in the truth that meaning is not measured by size, but by sincerity. And as you drift into rest, remember, small acts, given with love, create big meaning not just for others, but for the wholeness of your own spirit. Living as walking medicine. What if your very presence, imperfect, human, tender, was already medicine for the world? What if healing was not only what you do, but who you are when you live authentically, compassionately, and fully awake? To live as walking medicine is to embody peace, kindness, and wisdom in such a way that your life itself becomes a gift. It is not about curing everyone's wounds. It is about allowing your presence to ease the suffering around you. The world does not need more perfect people. It needs people who are real, people who have walked through their own struggles and emerged with open hearts. People who can sit with pain without trying to fix it, who can offer presence instead of solutions, who can say through their being, "You are not alone." Walking medicine is not dramatic, it is humble. It is the quiet power of authenticity. Consider the neighbor who always greets others with warmth, the grandmother whose lap feels like safety, the friend who listens without judgment. None of them may think of themselves as healers, yet their presence soothes, strengthens, and restores. Their medicine is not in what they do, but in who they are. By living truthfully and lovingly, They become medicine without even trying. There was once a man who sat outside a store each morning, simply offering smiles and kind words. Some days, people ignored him. Other days, they stopped to chat. Over time, his simple presence became known in the community. Mothers said his kindness helped them through hard mornings. Elders said his greetings reminded them they mattered. He was not wealthy, not powerful, not famous, yet he was medicine, walking medicine, just by showing up with love. Buddhism calls this bodhisattva, living, choosing to live for the benefit of others, not through grand gestures, but through everyday compassion. To live this way is to see each encounter as sacred. To smile at a stranger is medicine. To listen without distraction is medicine. To forgive yourself is medicine. Your life becomes a living sutra, a teaching written not in words, but in the way you move through the world. Try this reflection. Today, ask yourself, how can I be medicine in this moment? Maybe it means speaking gently instead of harshly. Maybe it means offering patience in a long line. Maybe it means resting when you are tired, so that your presence is whole for others. Each choice is a prescription, not only for your healing, but for the healing of all those you touch. Living as walking medicine does not mean being endlessly selfless or perfect. It means honoring your own needs while extending compassion outward. A doctor must tend to their own health before treating others. In the same way, your presence becomes medicine when you care for your own body, heart, and spirit. By tending to your wholeness, you overflow into the lives around you. So tonight, as you reflect on this journey, whisper, I am medicine, my presence matters, my being is healing. Let that truth settle into your bones. Know that every smile you give, every moment of presence you offer, every act of compassion you embody ripples outward. You are not just surviving, you are serving, simply by being fully yourself. As we close this journey, pause once more. Place your hand on your heart. Feel its steady rhythm. Feel the breath moving in and out. Remember, this is where healing has always lived, not in the distant future, but in the presence of this moment. You have explored the language of the body, the geography of emotions, the medicine of presence, the grace of aging, and the purpose that fuels life itself. You have learned that healing does not mean avoiding pain or clinging to youth. Healing means listening, welcoming, and living with compassion. Healing means discovering that you are not broken, you are already whole. Carry these teachings with gentleness. Practice them not as rigid rules, but as living invitations. Wash dishes as meditation. Greet your emotions as guests. Let wrinkles be maps of laughter and sorrow. Turn wounds into gifts. Offer small acts of kindness as medicine. And above all, remember, you yourself are walking medicine simply by being present. This is not the end of your journey, it is another beginning. Each breath will invite you back. Each step will remind you, now is enough. Thank you, dear friend, for walking this path with me to the very end. Thank you for your attention, your openness, and your willingness to sit with these words. Your presence here gives them life. May the seeds planted in these pages continue to grow within you, quietly, steadily, beautifully. May you be well. May you be at peace. May you remember your wholeness, and may your healing ripple outward to touch every life you encounter. With gratitude and warmth, the author.